What is the weakest link for both teams in your mind?
Eagles pass defense, I think, is their biggest weakness,
So that
especially at that.
their number is 29. They're 29th in the NFL in pass defense. Do you
And
think
they've given
that's
up the
you think
second most passing touchdowns this year.
who's the weakness in that pass D?
I'd say James Bradbury. He hasn't really
Okay.
been good this year. Last year, he played at like a Pro Bowl, all pro type of level, but this year, he's gotten cooked a lot. Now, he baited Josh Allen into a huge interception last week, which really was the turning point of that game. He communicated with Reed Blankenship behind him, and he said, if the receiver goes behind me, that's your guy. I'm going to make a break at Stephon Diggs. Josh Allen didn't know that. Bradbury made a break on the ball. So he's been in the league for a really long time and has those veteran types of instincts. But I don't think that Deebo Samuel is far off in having confidence in that matchup against Bradbury. I think that Deebo or Ayuk against Bradbury this week is going to play a huge role in this football game. And I give the Niners the edge there going against the Eagles' number 2 corner. And then on top of the pass defense, it's just the Eagles' inability at linebacker to cover the pass. I broke the numbers down a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
That sides with San Francisco given the personnel packages. So Eagles passing defense with linebacker and corner number 2. Bradley Roby at this point is now their slot corner. And he's not the player that he once was. And there's a reason why he didn't get picked up until in season. For the Niners, I think their biggest weakness, right guard, right tackle, especially with Hassan Reddick going up against Colton McKivitz. And I can guarantee you all throughout this week, Reddick has been salivating over that matchup. Now, the Niners have only given up 1 sack over the last 3 games. That's great. But Brock Purdy, I think Kev, your son, put this number out, week 6 through 12. I think he has the lowest percentage of throws from a clean pocket in the NFL. So while the Niners aren't giving up a lot of sacks, Brock Purdy has had a muddy pocket to throw from, and Philadelphia is 11th in sacks, and they're really good at finishing games late with sacks at critical times. And them going up against this Niners offensive line with the edge talent that the Eagles have, Reddick, Josh Sweat, Brandon Graham, Nolan Smith, and then the interior of the Eagles defensive line against the interior of this Niners offensive line, that's where that San Francisco 49ers weakness lies.
It's interesting. I agree with you. I like McKivitz a lot. I talk to him regularly. I asked him earlier this year, I said, what matchup is tougher for you? Because I think I asked him the week of the Jacksonville game. And I said, would you rather go up against a big physical, strong guy like Trayvon Walker, who almost is like an interior player, or would you rather go up against a speed guy who's constantly, being able to get the edge? And he said, I'd much prefer to take on the big bodied guy and go strength on strength as opposed to the speed guy. Now he gets Reddick, who's just 240 pounds and is incredibly fast, and he's got great moves, great ability to flatten to the quarterback. I think it kind of plays in Philly's, favor that it's in that matchup for sure. And I think the Niners, once again, are going to be in a position where they got to give McKivitz some help on that side. It didn't work last year with Justin Swift or Justin, it wasn't.
Tyler Kroft was on
Tyler
that side.
Kroft. Tyler Kroft. I'm confusing my journeyman tight ends. But yeah, Tyler Kroft got burned. Shanahan took a lot of abuse about that. And we all know how it ended up for Brock Purdy. So I kind of agree. I think McKivitz on Reddick is a major, major question mark. What about the jawing game back and forth? Deebo Samuel called James Bradbury trash in Philadelphia, his most hated opponent. He was asked about it earlier this week. He's like, I'm not taking it back. Then Bradbury had a group of people at his locker asking him about it. He smartly, as the veteran that he is, took the high road. The one thing I notice about Bradbury is Bradbury will gamble. He will try to run the route for the receiver. He'll guess. He'll gamble. I thought he gambled last week against Buffalo in his favor and netted an interception. He's kind of like that guy who can't really hit the fastball anymore, but he's so damn smart that he may cheat and hit one out anyway. And that's what I see with him on the corner. What do you make of the jawing back and forth? Debo said a lot of trash about Bradbury. Reddick's like boo-hoo. The 49ers are whiners and complainers about last year and the way things went. Is there any impact at all of the jawing, or is it just like seasoning on our steak?
See, this is where I think me being in the middle of this thing allows me to have a really good perspective. People in Philadelphia are calling the 49ers 40 whiners. I disagree with Philadelphia's approach to how San Francisco handled that loss. I don't really think that anything that San Francisco said in the aftermath of that game was wrong. The 49ers had an opportunity to make it to the Super Bowl. They're one game away. And think about the adversity that they faced at the quarterback position last year. Trey Lance was their starter, broken ankle, week 2. Jimmy Garoppolo comes in, breaks his foot. Brock Purdy comes in and plays tremendous football and goes 7-0 up until the NFC Championship game. He gets hurt and knocked out of that game. Josh Johnson then comes in the NFC Championship game, knocked out with a concussion. Christian McCaffrey has to come onto the field and play quarterback for the right to go to the Super Bowl. That game was close at halftime. A lot of people forget about that. And the Niners just kind of ran out of steam because they didn't have a quarterback in that second half. If you're a Niner player, can you imagine the human element of this? Shoot, we're one game away. We feel as though we match up really well against Philadelphia, and Christian McCaffrey is our quarterback. So I can understand where San Francisco is coming. And I thought that going into that game, it had everything that we wanted as a football fan, and we were robbed of a potentially great NFC Championship game. So what the Niners said, I thought was justified. And I thought that Philadelphia, the Eagles, as well as the city, got a little bit sensitive to it. Now, the Eagles fans were sensitive to it because of the lead up to what everybody said prior to that game. You only played the Giants and the injured Niners to make it to the Super Bowl. You're not legit. They should have beaten the Kansas City Chiefs and Patrick Mahomes. So it's almost like they had a scab wound and it was reopened by what some of the Niners said. I love the jawing back and forth. I think that this rivalry is great theater. And I'm hoping that in this game, we're going to be able to see a terrific matchup between the two best teams in the NFL that are the most talented, they're very well coached, and they're so deep. Just look at a list of the players that we're going to see this week. Trent Williams, Fred Warner, Christian McCaffrey, Nick Bosa, George Kittle, Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, Chase Young, Dre Greenlaw, Brock Purdy, and kickers and punters for people too, Mitch Wishnowsky. How many of those guys are future Hall of Famers? Multiple. And how many are all pro caliber guys? Multiple. On Philadelphia's side, Jason Kelce, Lane Johnson, Jalen Hurts, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Jordan Mailata, Hassan Reddick, Fletcher Cox, Darius Slay, Jake Elliott, and Kevin Byard. Like, this matchup is terrific. And I think both of these teams know how much this game means. Both squads are trying to play it down. There is so many implications in this game in the NFC playoff picture. Who gets the number one seed and home field advantage? And the trash talk I thought from the Niners was completely justified. I talked to Christian McCaffrey at the Super Bowl. I could tell. He's like, man, we could have been here. And I'm not going to make excuses, but look, we were on Christian McCaffrey having to throw passes in the NFC Championship game. That's why they were frustrated. They have the right to feel that way.
It's funny too, because the Eagle fans didn't like the Niners not giving them their flowers, but then they kind of turned around and did the same thing in the Super Bowl about the field conditions.
Exactly right.
Like, so it's kind of like, well, wait a second. Is it scoreboard or not? If you're going to openly complain about the field conditions against Kansas City, then can't the 49ers openly complain about what if? And I don't even think it was disrespect to Philly. I just think it was the Niners saying how much they believed in their guy, Brock Purdy. And when he went out, their chances went with it.